We would like to welcome everybody to the meeting today. We will start off with the invocation. I will lead us in the prayer if you please stand. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for the many blessings you've given us. Thank you for this opportunity to just help us be wise in our decisions. Thank you for dying on the cross to wash our sins. Amen.
Amen.
And now Carly Krug is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Today we have a quorum, so I would like to call this meeting to order. We would like to welcome all the visitors, Gil Robert, and now we will have the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for?
Oh, I move that we approve last month's minutes. I second that.
The motion has been moved and seconded, so the minutes have been approved.
But you guys can stop so that you
Who seconded that?
The Sabrina. All right, now we will have our fundraiser assessment. I felt like yesterday went really good for our fundraiser. We would just like to extend our thanks to the community and everybody here. Does anybody have any comments about that?
It was a lot of fun working together.
I can tell you that what you brought in, minus your expenses, you cleared $1,723.
Oh, yay.
And yesterday afterwards, we kind of talked about some more last minute fundraisers. I talked to Mr. Myatt and Mr. Crew today, and they approved us to do one of the fundraisers. So I was thinking that we should do the raffle tickets with the 2 signed basketballs, and then I also talked to Miss Gallman, and she said that we could sell the bracelets at DeShazo. We just have to approve it with Mr. Newberry for Dillman. So I was thinking we could do the bracelets there and then do the raffle. We have a home game tomorrow, so if we can get the raffle together for tomorrow, we could get out of the way rather than doing it the night we leave for Summit. So
Yeah, we can do one. You guys have time to sell tickets.
they won't let us one night, and we're all thinking we just sell tickets at the game?
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I can make the raffle, put youth advisory council and have them fill out their name, and we just need to figure out a price.
Well, do we have to have the winner announced at the game? I mean, since it's such short notice, we might as well just say this is the prize, and we'll let you know if you win.
You could draw it at the end of the boys' game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you start selling it at 5 o'clock
yeah.
during the JV game and go right up to halftime of the boys' game, then right at the end of the boys' game, you can announce it.
Or
That's a
halftime.
good idea.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I can make those tomorrow if we would be able to get the balls.
You will, I'll get them today.
Are you
Okay.
sure?
Tonight, yes.
All right.
We gotta
So
make sure we get them all signed too.
I'll take them to school in the morning.
Yeah.
okay, and we'll get them signed.
Yeah.
Somewhere or another before the games tomorrow, and I'll make the tickets. I just during activity period, if anybody has time, we can meet in Miss Chitwood's room or Miss McCamish's room and cut
Okay.
so we can just all pitch in and have that done. And what about prices? Each raffle ticket.
Maybe. Well, how much do the basketballs? How much do
I
you
do $1 and get as much.
$1?
Because I'm gonna donate the basketballs.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So do I have a motion to do our basketball raffle ticket fundraiser for $1 tomorrow night at the basketball games?
I move that we make the tickets $1 for the basketball.
I second that.
All right. Motion is carried to have our fundraiser tomorrow night.
All those in favor?
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Okay, and just a reminder, we go to our youth summit January 20th through the 22nd. So we're all excited. Now we will move to the city council agenda. First is to consider action concerning the adoption of a juvenile curfew ordinance.
You've had the public hearing, you've heard all the comments.
So are we making a decision?
I'm sorry.
Are we making a decision?
Yes.
As
we
a
are-
youth, as a
We are
youth
voting as a
council,
youth advisory council.
you must make a decision.
You are considering whether to take action. What's your agenda say?
Consider action. I say we take action. That's just my personal.
So can I make a motion?
No, do we wanna discuss?
You don't want to discuss?
I do not want a curfew.
I agree.
I agree.
And we've all discussed,
Yeah.
I mean, we all agree that we do want the best for our youth, and we want them to have a bright future, but we all want their freedom to be kept safe, so.
Now, this is gonna be a little bit different, because you wanna make sure you include these three as well.
Yeah.
Because all of y'all are council.
Right, so,
Well, I'm not so much against the youth curfew if we have more than one patrol. I think one police officer being on patrol is, I think we deserve more than that. I think if we could get the police department more money. I'm not so much against it. I'm very much against having like a 10 o'clock youth curfew. I mean, I don't feel like it's our business to tell somebody, hey, you need to go to bed, but I mean, 12 o'clock's pretty late, and I think basically, even we can all agree that 1 o'clock, basically, under no condition, even coming back from a movie, hardly anything good happens after 1. I mean, we can agree on that, right?
right, but back to your police officer comment, you're saying they should have another one on patrol
Definitely.
rather than having a curfew, or have the curfew and have.
I'm saying I'm not so much against it if we did have another one. I'm just saying
But-
just
But we
one.
don't, so you're saying.
If, it's an if situation. Like,
Right.
I'm not
I
against it
personally
if.
think we should have a curfew.
Well, are you police? Are you the chief?
No, but I'm just.
Right now, you're just discussing as a youth council.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I think we should have one.
there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but the way I see it is, it's not the police's like role in order to tell you people you need to go home. It's the parent's responsibility to like parent their
Right.
children.
And I agree, that's why I think there comes a difference between parenting and enforcing the law. As of, if there's a child, like a teenager, a kid out at late at night, and they're breaking the law,
Then it's
and
totally
they're causing harm,
acceptable.
then take care of it with the law. I mean, the police can arrest them or do whatever they need to do if they're breaking the law.
But wouldn't you rather than send them home instead of them getting a worse, like, thing on their record and that affecting the rest of their life?
That's very true, but a good
That's
lesson
their
learned.
choice.
A good
That's a
lesson
good
learned.
lesson
Though,
learned.
is it a deterrent?
But then again, sometimes when the police do see them, they don't catch and do anything. You know what I mean? They may have done something before the police have
But
gone
they
there.
see,
But, so they can't get them for anything
Very
that.
true.
And I mean, he said the first time, you know, if you're coming home from a movie or something, they're not gonna wait at the city limits to stop you.
Right. I agree. If the curfew is enforced, I think they'll handle it very professionally and do it very fair to the youth.
I just feel like as a youth council, we should be doing what generally the youth wants, like,
Like,
we're
yeah.
speaking for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's how
And I just, you know, if there's a significant raise in the violence or the law breaking, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but at night, then up the patrol. You know, and I know that comes down to people paying taxes and getting another police officer, but if we only have one police officer on patrol and the law breaking is more and people are getting into a bunch of trouble, then are the parents ever gonna, I mean, if they're letting them do that, then are the parents ever gonna step in? I mean, that, and I know that's a big thing, that some of these kids aren't having the parenting they should, so, but I just don't see how that meets with our freedom being messed with.
well, I mean, like you said about if the crime rate gets higher, maybe that could be a point where he's saying, maybe we should consider
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Instead of upping the patrol, maybe we can say, or maybe we can consider the youth curfew. But,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
It stands to be higher at night because you're in school during the day. So tendencies are is that evening, weekend, evenings and nights, yes, those are your busier times, to a certain point. When you reach here in Muleshoe, usually when we hit about 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning, even those that are out loitering around that don't have anything else to do, have find their way home or to somebody else's house. And that's when we start seeing the dairy workers going to work, or those that are working at the feedlots going to work. We see the newspapers being thrown at that time of the morning. So you see a shift in about that 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning is where it happens here. But usually between 2 and 4 o'clock is when it's pretty idle. There's not a whole lot, especially when it's cold, there's not a lot of people walking around. Now, when you get to spring and summer, then that changes, the demographics change all the way around. And you gotta understand, you're throwing the freedom word around, that your freedom is getting totally stripped away. You've gotta understand that in the curfews that are being held right now through our Federal Circuit Court of Appeals as being constitutional, is because our curfews in Texas address those particular constitutional amendments that have been raised in other states and have been defeated. So
they have named it constitutional?
Some courts have declared that they are constitutional. The court that has jurisdiction over Texas has said, yes, they are.
and that's.
Other courts have said, no, they're not.
Yes,
Like the Supreme Court?
the Supreme Court has heard in other circuits, the Supreme Court has declined to hear any more arguments of the curfew issue out of the Fifth Circuit, because when the Fifth Circuit heard the appeal to their court, which the Fifth Circuit is the next step before going to the Supreme Court, in their findings, they found that the curfews that have been challenged in Texas addressed the major constitutional points that have been argued in other parts of the country. So we addressed them, and we did address those. Our Fifth Circuit held them constitutional, so that when the Supreme Court had one brought to them, they declined to hear it because the matter had been addressed in Texas. So that's why ours are being held constitutional by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court has yet to this date declined to hear any further argument on curfew out of Texas, Louisiana, or Mississippi.
So if you elect to adopt an ordinance, then you've got to draft an ordinance. You got to determine what's in that ordinance. And make sure it complies with the ruling of the Fifth Circuit. And also make sure it's workable.
Right. Is it, if juvenile curfew is enforced in Muleshoe, could it be carried out with just one police officer on patrol at night? Is that possible?
Well, that's the way it has to be carried out.
Will it be
in
carried
other
out to
jurisdictions I've
to what it
worked at,
should
where
be,
we've had
100%?
one officer on the street that's had to deal with that along with the other calls for service, yes. You do. Right now, we have one officer on per shift. This calls may stack up, and I have a policy or an understanding in place that when we get significantly, if we have a lot going on, where we have 3 to 5 calls on hold, we call somebody out to help pick up the overflow so that the customer is getting taken care of. So, that would still be in play. Of course, it would be nice, if the time comes where the taxpayers want to push the point and put another officer out or whatever, then we'd be glad to take that or entertain that.
If it is put into effect, how do we let people know? Or is it just, if you don't know, too bad?
No, we do, it's just like when we did the cell phone issue in the school zones and stuff like that, when we first posted those signs, we put a lot of information out. We worked with Channel 6 and we worked with the newspaper to make sure that there's a lot of information put out. We put information out through the schools with the students, so that it would be taken home by the students to the parents. And there's, a lot of times, it's a gradual integration, where there's a lot of warnings at first, and then if those repeat offenders, then we start filing. But it's all Class C, it's basically citation based.
Any ordinance that requires a fine, we're required to publish that notice in the newspaper. In addition to the other things. What Brian's talking about is we do above and beyond what's actually required. We are required to publish that, and the ordinance can't go into effect until that required publishing has been done.
Well, if the juvenile curfew were to go into effect, I think the idea of having a committee to, you know,
Draft the ordinance.
yeah,
Draft the ordinance.
yes,
Mhm.
thank you. I think that is definitely, if it is enforced, that's the best way to go about it. But we're still back to us deciding what we
If we
want.
should,
What you wanna decide is your recommendation as a youth council to city council. It
Okay.
is, and you wanna make sure that all of you have had your say-so, what your feelings on it, and then you'll take a vote, because when it comes to the city council agenda item, and Mayor Black will ask for your opinion, that opinion is based on what you voted as a council, as a youth council.
And what the council is to look at, and you may have seen them later, there's a sample ordinance. There's really not an ordinance drafted for the council to adopt tonight. There's a lot of issues. You gotta look at exceptions and make sure all the exceptions are correct. There's also some issues about what you do with a juvenile who doesn't have a place to go. You know, parents have kicked him out, her, or they refuse to tell you where they are. You know, you gotta figure out what you're gonna do with that person. Can't put them in jail. Can't take them home.
I know all of y'all have done your homework and you've really thought about this a lot. I'm curious, and I don't want to know what they said, but how many of you actually talked to your parents about? Did y'all kind of get an idea how your parents feel about that too? Good.
Do you have anything? You just haven't gotten a chance.
Has everybody else?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, okay. I think we should. I think the city should, because, you know, and I just see, like, I always see kids late at night walking by my street, and I'm like, what are you doing outside? You shouldn't be there. And there are a few downsides, like the police and where would we put them, but I think it's necessary. And as long as it's under 17, how should I put this? It'll work. I think it'll work.
Well, it has to be under 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't pass one. And Roper's right. Not much good goes on at 1 o'clock for
And
16
I agree with
or
that.
17 year old.
And I think we can all say that all 9 of us definitely see both sides of it very clearly. I mean, I do, and I think I can speak for everybody that we all.
And at, at the beginning, when we all started having this conversation, that was one of the things that, that a lot of us told you, it's not just yourself, and it's not just for right now, it's also down the road. All decisions like that are made, the decisions that we make too, it's not just for us, it's not a personal gain, it's not a personal success, it's not just for the present, it's down the road. So always keep that in mind.
If y'all had to pick a time, what time, if we had to agree on a time, what would y'all think? 12 or 1?
I like the one.
I like one.
I mean, because debatably, something good could be going on at 12, but one, I mean, there's nothing for anybody.
Like coming home from a movie, obviously you're not gonna be home by 12. like we have to be closed.
We went to that early movie last weekend.
Yeah, we
And
didn't
I
want to
just,
go.
I think,
Yeah.
and I would be total, I mean, with the juvenile curfew, I'd be fine if it was something
Like,
reasonable. I mean, I remember, like, when I was in 8th grade and we would play fun games, very safe, good kid games, you know, like cat and mouse and cops and robbers, and I just remember all these fun times that I don't want anybody to stand in the way of kids and tell them. And I'm not saying anybody's saying this. I think some people are, but I don't want the youth to be stereotyped. I don't
Yeah.
want us to be looked down upon because of our age. And I think that has a lot to do with us being the Youth Advisory Council. We are the voice of this community because we are youth and we're the only youth voice we have here. And the last thing I want is this curfew to be because young people in this town are stereotyped of young kids who want to stir up trouble. Yes, there are some, but that is not all. And I don't think everybody should be punished for the bad decisions that some make.
What you're
But the
saying
kids
about-
you're punishing are the ones that don't have the curfew. I know I have a curfew.
Oh, me
Has a
too.
curfew.
I definitely have a curfew.
what you were saying about the whole, having those games at night and stuff, I think, it starts getting dark at, what, like 8:39?
Yeah.
And we'll have, if we say 1 o'clock, we'll have 3 hours
Right.
to do that. I mean, I think there'd still be time to do that stuff.
Right, I think if it's handled, the way they set it together, I think it's handled.
So
Yeah,
do you
I think
think,
you're right, Alyssa, because honestly, I don't know how long y'all can play hide and seek. I can't. I lose interest pretty quick. I mean, I get pretty tired.
Typically what the times that are set out in ordinances are 11 o'clock on weekdays and 12 o'clock on weekends.
I actually think you guys are thinking too late. I think it should be 12 or 11 because, there's going to be those exceptions. Like if you're coming back from a movie, that'd be an exception, like you're traveling. Or if you're outside playing, you're on your own property, But that's just my opinion.
What if a bunch of you get together and it's like 11 o'clock and you think, let's go down to the basketball courts
Yeah.
and shoot some hoops or just hang out down there for a
Right.
while, and
Well,
then
that-
all of a sudden,
You lose the track of time.
yeah, or you're not ready to go in yet.
Well, and that's covered though. If there are some exceptions to that, we have the ability to allow for that. Because that's a freedom to assemble issue and to gather. So if we see, we're gonna come by and check on you and see what you're doing and what's going on and remind you, okay, y'all are here assembled and you're having fun, you're playing basketball, but when y'all are through, you've gotta go to the house. You can't drive around town for 45 minutes.
What defines freedom of assembly?
Assembly is basically is the public property.
But more than one are sitting on a park bench at 3 o'clock.
If they're not doing anything to hurt anything, we stop by and
We're
check them.
exercising our right to free assembly.
So if we're
Basically.
hanging out at the pond,
So if we're hanging out at the
The
pond,
pond.
past midnight?
It's public property.
Oh.
The places that come into question are places like Allsup, Stripes,
Oh, yeah.
United,
Building next to Sonic.
things like that.
Oh, so there's-
In the draft,
I know.
the draft ordinance that you have laying there, and it's by no means an ordinance that's anybody's
Oh,
recommended.
right.
But actually, if you had a group hanging out by this ordinance,
Mhm.
in Allsups, after curfew, those kids could get cited as well as Allsups.
See, the free range kind of scares me.
I've been there.
The what?
The free range of it kind of scares me.
Depends on why you're there as an individual. Now, if you're there as a whole group of people just hanging out there just because there's some place to hang out that's lit, that's a whole different issue than if you're going to the Allsups to get Pepto-Bismol or Sprite or something like that. Because there are exceptions there to allow you to go to the store and take care of family needs.
But would
So,
that not be
what if-
freedom of assembly?
and I-
They decide to-
It's not by private property, no.
So I know this is out
It's a
there.
corporate property issue, it's not a public property.
What if by some reason
That's the way
the
they
girls'
have it.
basketball team had a game in Childress? And they didn't get home till
But
2
that's the way
o'clock in the
that the
morning.
Fifth Circuit has even held that.
And they all said, well, let's run to 7-Eleven and let's get a Coke on the way home. Now, if your police officer sees this going on, who gives him, even though it's a school activity, who gives the police officer a list of all the kids that were on the basketball team and all the kids that went to the game to support the team?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
That's where,
And in
for
that
me,
scenario, in history, where I came from, where we had this issue, we knew what time the bus got, we saw the bus come into town, so we knew everybody was coming to town, and we just knew, we didn't even mess with the ordinance
So you don't
for
bother
a good,
anybody
for a good
how
hour,
long?
for a good hour.
So it's left up to the police officer then to decide what to do.
Well, even speeding is an officer discretionary side.
That's true. Yeah, because you decide whether you're giving a ticket or a warning or pulling them over at all.
Yeah.
That is true.
So you just use your best judgment. You just use your best judgment in situations like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know when I've done police ride-alongs, and, you know, the police officer has seen, you know, they're going, oh, that's a warning, oh, I mean, they have to make that decision.
Right. And
And, you know, and I've been stopped before,
How are you
and
gonna
it's
know
like,
if they're
okay, you're
of
getting a
age?
warning.
Like, how are you gonna know if they're in the right age? Are you gonna like?
If they're
You ask for their ID.
what if they don't have that?
What if they don't have an ID, then
Yeah.
you're pretty much.
Those are things that we have ways of checking out, because chances are, we have dealt
Oh, yeah.
with
With-
them
oh,
at
that's
one
true.
point in time or another, and every time we deal with anybody, you know, first thing we ask for is your full name and your date of birth, because when we get that stuff, we put it into our local database so that if we do have to deal with you in the future, or you can't answer our questions, we're able to look at this stuff and we'll have that at hand.
And I think for me, we talked about what if there's a basketball game, or what if I have to go get my family member medicine. That's why I think if someone is out, whether it's an adult or you're under 17, no matter what time it is, and you are not harming anybody and you are not breaking the law, nobody should tell you to go home, in my opinion. Now, if you're breaking the law, then by all means, the police, those people should be taken care of. Above 17, below 17, no matter what time it is, daylight or dark. But if you're not breaking the law, then who am I harming? That's me.
But if you're not harming anything, why couldn't you tell them you're not?
Right, and that's why,
But if there's a curfew and you're not harming anything, you have to go home anyway.
right, and then what if they say, well, this says, I've been ordered to say, well, I have to take you to the police station. What did I do? You know, I was just out, you know? No,
But you
that's
were
what,
breaking the law.
right, I don't wanna be breaking the law if I'm not harming anybody.
Yeah.
I do not want to be told I'm breaking the law if I'm not harming anybody or anything.
If the ordinance is passed, you will be breaking.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So why do you need?
So, that's what I'm saying, I don't think the city needs a curfew. I think the people who are breaking the law need to be taken care of.
But
But
they
they
can't,
can't be taken care of.
I think.
Why?
If you don't have one.
They can be taken
if
care
they're
of.
breaking the law.
If they're breaking the law, the
That's
police
why I'm saying we don't need
can,
But if they're
well,
just walking
should.
around, they're not doing
The
anything.
police should take care of them, hands down.
I think the law is broken a lot, and with it being, just one police officer out, it's hard for them to,
Then it's
You
gonna
know,
be
be
like, you're washed
everywhere.
out if you either get lucky or you don't with just one police
and
officer.
Right.
it's hard to catch
Yeah.
someone, so
But
the
our
ordinance
parents
was
are not
up
gonna
then
wanna
now.
pay more taxes just to get another
Yeah,
policeman.
so I think there's
No, that's not what I'm saying, I'm saying that
Isn't
by
meant
putting.
to like be mean to us, it's
Oh, no,
to help us, it's to help us keep us out of trouble.
Yeah, but like, you're gonna see it that way, but other people aren't gonna see it that way. They're gonna be like, well, they can't tell me what to do, they're not my mom, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, there's other people
yes.
that are hard-headed and they're not gonna understand that.
And-
But then
you'd
again, those
be-
other people we're having problems with.
And you'd be surprised how many 11, 12, 13-year-olds
Oh, yeah,
are out.
yeah.
And they're young, they shouldn't be.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why is that our decision? Because
I mean,
We're
Why
not
is
the
that
mom.
I think it should be.
I want better for those kids. I want their future to be bright, but
If I
Is
see
it
their
my
parents
business?
around, I might have to
Is
be
it my
like, hey,
option?
how come you're not at home? It's none of my business.
I mean, at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's kind of like, okay, what are you doing?
right.
Like
We can think
11,
that from the outside looking in, but we're
But
not
like,
in it.
yeah, I'm not gonna be like, okay, they need to be in bed. I mean, they look like trouble. Like, that's not my place.
So, anyways,
I honestly don't think we need
we have a. I like this. I like conversations like this.
I think it really would ultimately depends on how often kids are getting in trouble, know. If it's kind of a once in a, like, not so much, maybe it's, I really don't need it, but if it's happening a lot, then I think it'd be necessary.
Is it possible for the police or somehow to have a, what did I say, how to study?
Do you really wanna get into a study?
That's what
I
I'm
think-
saying.
I think what-
I
I
want
mean-
proof, do we need this?
This is the way I see it. I think if we saw the ordinance and everything, and if they asked for people's opinion, like the committee, I think if we saw that before we made a decision, that would be
The
so
tables
much.
will turn.
Yeah, I think we'd be able like to see, oh, well, yeah, we do need a curfew. But until we see what the ordinance is gonna say, I honestly don't think we're gonna want a curfew until we see what's gonna be taken
Yeah,
away or
I
given
agree.
to us.
And that's very legitimate,
Everyone
How
has
do
a
you guys
opinion
Yeah.
about it.
My mom
and that's
thinks
legitimate.
It's just gonna cause more problems.
I can see a lot of kids being like, getting together, like, you know, going out just to
Rebellion.
react to it.
I agree, I think
I think
that
that,
this
that's what my mom
community
said,
might
she said
get
people
more
are
than
gonna
they've
do it
bargained
just
for.
to get on. Just
Yeah,
to rebel.
But it's gonna be a lot, so they can't be like,
They can't say
Well,
anything.
my opinion about that is if they do that, well, you can take them all in and then they learn that
they'll
the
run.
police is for real.
Yeah, but then
There's
but
it's
one cop,
there
one
we go.
cop. No, not one cop.
If you run, it's a felony, so
Yeah,
you're
so
done.
we just changed a little problem to a gigantic problem.
But if they assemble at the park,
They
they
can't
can't
do
touch us.
anything, yeah.
But if you run, well,
We should all assemble just on the street. Let's just
Where-
say. Oh, it has to be a public place, oh, darn.
Okay,
It's not in it, it's like.
I know talking to my mom, it's the junior high kids that are causing the problems, and they're having troubles with the kids in school because of it.
what if we had 13 and under?
And if you're at the park, it's a safe park.
But
But you
I don't want
can't
it
be
to
putting
seem
your
like,
age on it, you don't.
right, I
can't.
don't, yeah,
can't.
because I
It's wrong.
think, just the same, okay, an 18-year-old can be walking up and down the streets, but a 16-year-old
Can't,
can't.
like-
So the 18-year-old is not doing anything, if, say me and the 18-year-old were doing the same exact
It's,
thing.
it's like the alcohol.
And I would go home, I would get taken into the station or whatever, but he wouldn't.
Yeah. It's like the alcohol age
She's
limit.
right though, it is like the alcohol age limit.
And then they get to come and clean it up.
I see this different.
I don't think you can put in, like, I mean, think about it, when we were in junior high, we didn't want anybody telling us, oh, well, you have to be here and here, you know what I mean, like.
I mean, I can see both sides.
I
I
definitely
it.
see y'all
I
side.
just don't,
Hands down, I see y'all side.
I think
I just-
since the youth has told us, well, they're like, you know what I mean, like, they've given us their opinion,
Yeah.
and we're here to speak for them. So there's, we need to
And-
go.
We're also speaking for them, but we need to think of what's best for them too.
Yeah.
Very
So
true.
why is
That's
it,
why-
why is it up to us, like, what makes it our right to decide what's best for somebody? I don't see that,
And-
like,
and
I have a hard time getting myself.
Because someone has to stand up. Someone has to
Parents
take,
make the
it.
decision.
Well,
It's that way.
that's what, I would love that. As a teacher and counselor, I would love for parents.
But then the law enforcement needs to step up and do.
Take care of themselves.
And take them.
He just made a good point with every law they pass. They've had to do this same thing. They've had to force people to do it.
I mean, that's why you have seatbelt laws. That's why you have child safety seat laws. That's why you have helmet laws. I mean, the society has gotten to the point where if something's going awry with, and people aren't taking care of their own business and making good decisions, government's had to step in and play the role.
Had to
Do I
step
agree
in
with
or
you?
they do step in.
So government should be telling
I
us
didn't
what
say
our
That's a good
decisions.
point.
That's just what
Do
they
they
do.
decide to, or do they just,
Should they be
Is it
telling us what's
necessary?
good decisions?
Yes.
They do.
But the government is already
I
telling,
agree with it. That's what we do. That's why I have a job.
the government is already telling us what is against the law and what is not against the law.
Yes.
They're already telling us what to do as youth, as adults in this town at night. So why add to it? Because if I'm not, I mean, if I'm doing what the government tells me to do when it comes to the law, then why do I need to go
Again.
home?
Why do you have to wear a seatbelt? Because somebody else made bad decisions not to wear seatbelts, and the statistics of death rates went up, where now everybody has to wear a seatbelt.
I think
Have our crime rates gone up lately?
That's the mindset, that's the
If
mindset.
you take that argument, then do you agree that the state should make you wear a seatbelt?
I don't.
I actually don't.
I mean, it's
I
better
think-
for you.
I think you're stupid if you don't wear a seatbelt. I
Yeah.
don't think the state should tell us.
Yeah.
Now, you're
That's
right,
common sense
you're
right
in the
there.
position that the state's in.
Yeah,
Do you wanna tell youth what time they have to be home?
I don't think we
No.
should.
Oh.
I
Why don't
mean,
you just pass an
has-
ordinance that
have the
requires
crime
all
rates
the
gone
parents
up
in
though?
Muleshoe to be responsible and teach their kids to be that way?
That'd be,
Yeah.
But
yeah, that'd be a great one.
You better parent.
That'd be a great one. And you know, and the other side of that is, do you wanna be the one that says, and we don't care what you do, you know, when you look at it on the safety side? Cause yeah, there are both sides
Well,
to it.
yeah, I agree
So
that.
you said with the seatbelts, there was a huge increase in death rates. Has there been a huge increase in crime rates or arrests at Muleshoe at night?
I haven't looked at the numbers.
My question is, like, just
And the thing you have to
summertime, or
understand
is
is,
it different during the whole year, you know what I mean? Like.
When he said that, in the
Yeah,
spring
he
and
said
summer,
it's
everything
summer,
changes.
but-
How would you make the curfew work for like the rest?
Midnight's midnight. Middle of the night's middle of the night. I don't care what season it
But
is.
breaking the law is breaking the law.
That's
not
right.
breaking the
You
law
can
is
set
not
times
breaking the
based
law.
on different times.
yeah,
And I mean, if
Or
we're talking
different days of
about
the week.
kids
Different.
being
Mhm.
out,
Oh, yeah, there's
See, I,
different.
I honestly don't think we're gonna agree on something, or we're not gonna agree with the ordinance if
Until
we
we
don't
see
see
it.
it, like,
Yeah.
like the,
Because if I saw an ordinance that this say, they say, if you pass this right now, this is how it'd be, and I look through
and
it,
I agree.
and
I'd be
I
like,
thought
okay,
it would,
go
that's,
for it.
that didn't put our freedom at jeopardy, and, you know, all this and that, it'd be a lot easier to say yes or no right
But
now.
what you guys are thinking isn't really practically possible right now, because first you have to decide, yes, I want it, no, I don't want it, and then we draft that. They
I
draft
think,
that.
yeah, I think the decision now is, do we say,
Yes.
we don't want a curfew ordinance, period?
Yeah.
So-
At all. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
Or,
Maybe we
Go
should
there.
just like postpone it,
Or
table it.
do you believe?
no, you don't wanna table it. You
Oh.
wanna
You wanna
say one
recommend-
or the other.
Yeah, do you wanna recommend to the council that they have an ordinance drafted for review and consideration at
I
another
think we
time?
should do it.
So,
That is an
okay,
option.
if we tell them that they should review one, when the little council makes the, no, the committee, that's the word I was looking for, I'm sorry. When the committee makes that ordinance.
Well, that's,
I mean,
that's an option, if they appoint a committee to draft the ordinance.
so if they appoint a committee to draft the ordinance, then they would look at the ordinance and then say yes or no?
I think that'd be the best idea because,
They actually could look at the ordinance and make changes to that ordinance.
Okay, but if they looked at the ordinance, could they still say, okay, we don't want a curfew?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I personally like that idea.
I'm up for that.
I like that idea.
Otherwise, I'm
The
saying.
council does not have an ordinance to consider tonight.
You could recommend that they take no action
Well,
if you don't want a curfew at all in any
I like it.
form or fashion.
I would think you need to make a motion to consider having an ordinance drafted or drafting an ordinance, get a second, and then you vote up or down whether to move forward or say, no, we don't want it.
And when you do that, that would be all of y'all, not
Right.
just
Right,
five,
yeah,
okay?
as a
Just
council.
make, yeah, because
Judge,
this is
what I'm
as a
saying?
youth council, they'll take all of
You,
you.
you need the motion and the second to continue looking at the ordinance. And then you vote whether that passes or fails. That make sense?
So the committee would make an ordinance, and then we would decide,
Review it.
review it,
decide, yes.
and see if we wanna change anything, and then say,
Or
enforce
you could
it
say
or
yes
no
or no.
curfew.
I like that.
That sounds the safest.
That sounds
That's,
better.
that's very
That,
level-headed.
yeah.
I don't want that
I think that's a safe way, I think that's a way to keep it to where we all get on level ground, and, because I know there's some of us that don't want a curfew period, we would much rather be done with it. There's some of us, but there's others that don't.
Well, that's where you make the motion to move forward with having an ordinance drafted. Those that absolutely don't want it can vote against it. Those who believe that's what we ought to do can vote for it.
I think we should just look at it, because it's not only affecting us, it's affecting, like they said later on. I think we should just get the draft.
Is that a motion?
I don't know if I can make a motion, but y'all can go for it.
Anybody can.
Anybody can, because right now, it's all nine of you.
Oh, okay.
Anybody?
I'll make the motion that we.
Recommend to the council to have an ordinance drafted.
That we recommend that the council draft an ordinance, and then we'll go from there.
I second that.
Okay.
All those,
Now, you need to raise your hands.
all those in favor?
Raise your hands.
Okay, and you're gonna need to.
Okay, keep raising them, because she's gonna write down.
No, Bailey, Belinda. Roll. Yourself and Alyssa. Captain Morgan. Or, and Bailey is the second. And you vote.
Now,
Okay, raise your hands again if you were for
oh,
it.
if you were for, just read it one more time.
Bailey, Belinda. Okay, and then if you
Yeah, all
ask
those
for
against?
All those opposed?
Raise your hand.
Aye.
We have to get the name.
Nay.
Name.
Nay.
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 Nah.
Okay. So you have a vote of 5 to 4.
Okay,
So motion.
motion
So
carries.
motion carries. So when it comes to your turn, you're going to say the Youth Advisory Council's recommendation is to draft an ordinance to
And you can't say
read.
And you can say it was on a 5 to 4.
In the, with a vote of 5 to 4.
Five to four.
Okay,
I think it'll be good.
very well done.
Awesome.
Very well done.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
We don't.
I second that.
Meeting adjourned.